She saved a stranger's life in a Christmas snowstorm. She never expected him to return as the CEO of a car company, a story about kindness, fate, and the reward no one saw coming. 600 words. YouTube ready. The night everything changed. Stop the car. Those 3 words changed everything. It was Christmas Eve, the kind of night where the whole world seems to disappear, buried under a thick, silent blanket of snow. The kind of night where most people are home, warm, surrounded by family, and laughter and the smell of pine trees. Sara Mitchell was not one of those people. She was driving alone on Highway 9, a long stretch of empty road outside a small town in Vermont, trying to get back to her apartment before the storm got any worse. She was a nurse, had been for 12 years, and she had just finished a brutal double shift at Mercy General Hospital. Her hands ached. Her eyes burned. She hadn't eaten since morning. She just wanted to get home. But then, in the pale wash of her headlights, she saw him, a man, slumped against the guardrail, half buried in the snow, not moving. She could have told herself it was none of her business. She could have driven past. Many people would have. Sara didn't hesitate for even a second. She pulled over, threw on her hazard lights, and ran into the freezing wind toward the stranger on the road. He was pale. His lips were blue. His breathing was shallow and erratic. She recognized the signs immediately: hypothermia and something worse. His pulse was weak and irregular. This man's heart was struggling. She called 911, gave them her exact location, and then did what she had spent 12 years training to do. She kept him warm with the blanket from her trunk. She kept his airway clear. She talked to him, softly, calmly, even though he couldn't respond. She told him he was going to be okay. She told him help was coming. She never even knew his name, Hart's the stranger. With no name, the ambulance arrived 14 minutes later. The paramedics took over, loaded him into the vehicle, and within seconds, they were gone. Just red lights fading into the snowstorm. Sara stood there on the empty highway, alone in the cold, snow falling on her shoulders. She had no idea who he was. No wallet had been found near him, no phone, nothing. She gave her statement to a police officer who arrived a few minutes later, then climbed back into her car and drove home in silence. She didn't think of herself as a hero. She thought of herself as someone who had done the only human thing possible. She told her friend about it the next day over Christmas coffee, and her friend said, "Sara, you probably saved that man's life." Sara just shrugged and said, "I hope he's okay," and then she went back to work, back to the long shifts and the tired feet and the patients who needed her. She never expected to hear anything more about the stranger on Highway 9. She was wrong. 3 years later, 3 years passed. Sara's life moved forward the way ordinary lives do, slowly, quietly, with small joys and quiet struggles. She got a small promotion at the hospital. She moved into a slightly bigger apartment. She adopted a cat named Frost. Life was good. Not extraordinary, but good. Then one Tuesday morning in November, she received an unusual message. It came through the hospital's administrative office. A formal letter, printed on expensive paper, requesting a meeting with a Ms. Sara Mitchell, nurse at Mercy General, at the office of Hartwell Automotive Group, one of the largest and most successful car manufacturing companies in the northeastern United States. Sara read the letter 3 times. She had no connection to any car company. She had never applied for a job there. She couldn't imagine why on earth they would want to meet with her. But curiosity and a healthy sense of adventure won out. She went. The man behind the desk, the Hartwell Automotive offices, were exactly what you'd expect from a billion-dollar company. Glass walls, polished marble floors, a receptionist who smiled like she'd been trained to do it. Sara sat in the waiting area feeling entirely out of place in her winter coat, clutching her bag. Then the door to the main office opened. A man walked out, tall, broad-shouldered, somewhere in his mid-40s. He had warm brown eyes and a scar just above his left eyebrow that Sara noticed immediately. He was wearing a perfectly tailored dark suit. He was clearly someone important. He stopped when he saw her, and then he smiled. Not a business smile, a real smile, the kind that reached his eyes. "Sara Mitchell," he said. I've been looking for you for 3 years. His name was Daniel Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Automotive, worth, according to Forbes, somewhere north of $2 billion, and on a Christmas Eve 3 years ago, he had been the man slumped against a guardrail on Highway 9, his heart giving out, invisible in a snowstorm. His driver had left the vehicle to get help and never returned. His phone had slipped into the snow. He had been lying there for over 40 minutes before her headlights found him. The doctors later told him that another 15 minutes, and he would not have survived. Daniel Hartwell had spent 3 years trying to find the nurse who had saved his life. All he had was a first name from a police report. It took private investigators, hospital directories, and old interview records. Oh, but eventually, he found her. Sara sat across from him in his office, too stunned to speak for a full minute. "I don't know what to say," she finally managed. "You don't have to say anything," Daniel said. "I do." A kindness returned. What happened next became something of a local legend in their small Vermont town, and eventually much bigger than that. Daniel Hartwell didn't just say thank you. He had spent 3 years thinking about how to properly honor what Sara had done. He understood, deeply, personally, that no amount of money could truly repay a life saved. But he also understood that a woman like Sara, who gave so much every single day, deserved to have something given back to her. He had set up quietly and without any announcement the Mitchell Fund, named after her, a charitable foundation that would donate over $2 million to rural emergency healthcare services across Vermont, services that would place more life-saving equipment on the roads Sara had driven that night. Defibrillators, emergency supply kits, better lighting. On isolated highway stretches, he also offered Sara, personally, whatever she needed. A scholarship for further medical training, a new car, financial support, anything she wanted to name. Sara listened to all of this with tears quietly running down her face. When he was done, she was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "The fund is extraordinary. I'm honored. But I don't need anything for myself, Daniel. I was just doing my job." He leaned forward and said something she would never forget. "That's exactly why I've been looking for you. Because the people who say that are the ones who deserve to be found." She accepted one thing in the end, a small, handwritten letter that Daniel gave her. In it, he had written about that night from his perspective, what he remembered, the cold, the fear, the voice of a woman speaking calmly in the dark, telling him he was going to be okay. "I didn't know if I was dreaming," he had written, "but your voice was the most real thing in the world." Sara kept that letter in a frame on the wall of her apartment, next to a photo of her and Frost the cat, and a small string of Christmas lights she never quite took down. She still works at Mercy General. She still drives Highway 9 in winter. She still stops when she has to. And every Christmas Eve, without fail, she thinks of the man in the snow, and how the smallest decision to stop, to care, to stay, can echo further than we will ever. No, because kindness is never wasted. It always finds its way back.